Welcome to another Demarcation Media action figure review. Today we are going to be taking another little dive into the new Jazwares Halo lineup with the Spartan Mark VII from the Spartan Collection. Now, I did a review, it's been months now, about the little 3-inch Master Chief. And I was honestly pretty impressed with him. He was a good figure for the price and for the size. So today I decided to go ahead and give the bigger figures a try. I actually had gone to Walmart looking for the UNSC checkpoint kit, the one that's got like the Gungnir and the Elite and a ton of weapons for the 3-inch scale. But I didn't find that, and my Walmart had finally decided to start stocking some of the bigger figures. And here we are. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box before we get the figure out. So technically this is actually my second one of these guys. I got one and I got out to the car with it and I was looking at him and I was like, something about his head looks weird. So I popped the box open and sure enough, the entire backside of his head was mushed in like something had poked it while it was fresh out of the mold or something. I don't know. It was bad. So I returned it. This is the second one. And you get to see the figure right away. Like, you instantly know what you're getting. There's nothing hidden down at the bottom. It's all right there for you to see, which I really appreciate. I don't always like it when they hide accessories like down beneath the little display area. That's kind of annoying. But we get to see everything. Halo 1 set includes game add-on. You can see the code back there. Spartan Collection, some UNSC branding. Some more UNSC stuff at the top. That actually looks really nice. Around the side, pretty bland overall. It's just UNSC symbol and then a picture of the Spartan. And around the back, we get to see the Chief from that wave, the Cat, the White Spartan Mark V, and a bunch of stuff nobody reads. And then a tiny little bit. I'm surprised that we didn't get a bigger blurb about the armor. Also, something I noticed right away, we get to see some black paint here, and a back here. That is not on this figure at all. So, that seems like false advertising to me. But, yeah, overall, it's a pretty standard box. Nothing too exciting, but it does its job. So, let's go ahead and pop it open. I've got my little X-Acto knife. I'm just going to give it a little slice. I accidentally ripped the first box trying to get it open, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time around. I say that as I yank it really hard. Alrighty. He slides right out, and then the... Whoa, oh, this all slides out if you want it to. Come on. Okay, so there's the code. I may actually end up using this if I do the multiplayer. So we'll hang on to that. Oh, wow, the hands are all coming out. Okay, so there's this little loose piece. It looks like the hard point on his leg has actual, like, stuff you can attach to it. So here's the hand. Leapt right out. There's a fist. Another fist, an open, relaxed hand, another open, relaxed hand. I really like how many hands this guy comes with. Bulldog that automatically is bent upward. That's the one thing that I've really had a complaint about with the Jazwares figures is the weapons are so soft that they come out of the package usually messed up. Yeah, there we go. He is free. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. So let's take a look at his accessories up closer. So as we saw, we have a kind of, I guess this would be a salute hand, a forward hand. Could be holding a plate hand. Could be pretty much anything you want it to be. It has a peg here that can turn. like so. And pretty much the only paintwork on here is the armor. It has none of the dry brushing. The last guy I had a ton on his hands and some red paint that splattered onto the fingers. But this looks pretty clean, pretty crisp. We get a pair of fist hands, same articulation, same gig going on for the whole thing, really. Got the paint, and that's it. And then the two open hands. And I really love that we get it for both sides. I kind of wish we got two of these hands as well, because having both of them for like running poses would be cool. But these look very nice. And then we have trigger fingers with the same articulation and paintwork that's on him. And we get a trigger finger for both sides, which is very nice. Then for weapons, we have a disruptor, which is honestly a weapon I know very little about. It's got a peg hole here, and it is bent very badly. I'm going to have to heat this up with like a hair dryer and remold it. So that's kind of frustrating. The paintwork is all right. It looks like the handle is supposed to be wrapped with something, and I think some paint there would have been nice. It's not a bad weapon, though. It just really is bent. Same goes for the bulldog. I mean, it's got some more detail, and it looks pretty good overall, but it is bent. Like, it's really bent. It's not only bent upward, but it's also bent at the stock, and you can see it's soft. I don't really like that about the Jazwares figures. I really wish they just made them hard, and that was that. So hopefully I can get this looking decent and not so bent, because right now these both look pretty bad. If they can go back into the proper position, they're pretty good weapons. If not, then that's kind of a big bummer. So my camera actually died, and then I was really busy for a couple days. So this video was made over a span of like a week, and that actually gave me some time to really mess around with this guy and see what he's capable of, what is good, what is bad, and just kind of explore his articulation. Because with every new action figure you get, you have to kind of figure out what they can do, because not every action figure is created equal. So sometimes you might get a figure and they look really bulky, and then but they actually pose really well, and then a figure that's really thin and poses terribly. So you just kind of have to play around with it. So first thing, I have the Disruptor equipped, and I did go ahead and look up some videos of the Disruptor, and it is actually a pretty cool looking weapon. It's like this EMP pistol, and the handle piece with the like wrap is actually just gray. The only thing that's really kind of missing in terms of paint here is some like red on the tip. That was it. So this is just a very simple weapon, and Jazwares did it pretty well. Just, you know, as long as it's not bent. This guy, I feel like he could have had some better articulation than he does, and he's fairly standard for the most part, with a few exceptions. First, we got the hands. I showed you the articulation there. It can just hinge like that and then swivel. And I've noticed it's kind of floppy, like inside the wrist, and then the wrist itself is a little loose, at least on this hand. So that's a bit of a bummer, because then and on top of that, the gun can move in the hand. So you have a lot of play here, and that's not really that great. That's just kind of weird. And then we got the open hand equipped. You can hinge it like that. The armor kind of bumps up against the wrist, so you can't do much more than that. And then you can do that. So that's fairly limiting right off the bat. It's not terrible, but it is what it is. So head movement. We get up about that far. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. We get a tiny bit of side to side, which is good because we can get kind of some more expressive poses. Downward is excellent. That's perfect. You can have him looking straight down on top of you, and then you can swivel all the way around. So that's perfect. I don't think I could really ask for much more in terms of the head. And then the shoulders are where things are a little weird. So there's this black panel here, and you can see it moves. It kind of clicks. You can click it backward and click it forward. And it's a little loose. It kind of can flop back and forth. That lets you bring the shoulders more forward like that, or more backward like that. And I guess it's supposed to help with rifle holding poses, but this guy is terrible at that. Like, I couldn't barely even get him to hold the bulldog in a proper bulldog shooting position. It doesn't help the fact that this bulldog is absolutely too small. Like, it needs to be almost double the size based on, like, footage from Infinite. Like, that's way too small. So that's kind of weird, this section here. And then you have the hinge, and then swivel, and then there's this other thing in here that lets you pull the shoulders up and down a little bit, and I thought that was a ball joint, and it's not. The shoulders are these pegs that go in, and then there's like this section like this, and the peg goes in, and there's 4 little like clamps that hold it, which allows for that extra movement and lets you get a straight up T-pose. But it worries me because those clamps look like they can break over time, potentially, as well as the shoulder can be kind of loose. I actually had to take this guy's arm off for this side and put some super glue on the peg because his arm was so loose that if I got it up to here, it would fall back down. That's not what you want to see on an action figure. You don't want joints that are loose. A lot of these joints are like ratchet joints too, like the foot especially. As he's standing here, he keeps wanting to tilt forward in between like the ratchets. So it's a little awkward. So yeah, arms, we get all the way around. We got a swivel like that. And then we have a double jointed elbow, which is fairly limited as far as double jointed elbows go. A little bit more than a 90-degree bend, which it's respectable. I would say that's fine. I don't think it's really a knock against the figure to have it limited like that. And then the waist is a swivel, and then there's some weird joint in here that lets you like bend him backward, but it's super, super stiff, and I can't really get it to do much other than bend his torso backwards slightly. There's no ab crunch, so I don't really know what the heck is going on there, but you don't really get much out of it. His torso is pretty much static. You just get the swivel. And then for the legs, we have a thigh swivel, hip joints, which are ratchet, so you can get them to kick about that far up. And then if you want to swivel it, you can get a little bit more. The part that disappointed me was the knees, because the knees look like they should bend quite a bit. And then that's all we get. Like, it's not bad. I've seen worse, but like, why is there so much of a gap there? I feel like they easily could have made it so the leg could almost sit like completely together. So that was a little disappointing to me because getting him into a crouching pose is a little bit difficult. And the first thing I always test with an action figure is how well can they crouch. That's kind of, if they can crouch well, then they're a good figure. And this guy is a bit of a pain to get in the crouching pose. Feet can move up slightly. They can move back slightly, and then they have a toe hinge, which interestingly can also go the opposite direction for no apparent reason. And that's pretty much it. I think I've covered most of the articulation. Honestly, it's not that much better than the small figures. I expected him to be way more posable than the small figures, and basically the only big difference is how much his arms bend. And I wouldn't even say that's a big difference. So let me actually go ahead and grab the small chief and bring him in here so we can get a bit of a comparison. So here he is, and yes, I have modified him. I went and completely covered him in this panel liner fluid stuff and then gave him a matte top coat, and it really, really improved his look. So I will be doing that to this guy. I might even do a dusted off video showing the process. But yeah, keep in mind this chief is modified. So size comparison, he's about half the size of this Spartan right here. And then, so look at this. Look at the bend on Chief's leg. Look how nice that is. But he's so small, and yet this guy right here he can't even quite get that much of a bend. So that is really my biggest disappointment with this figure. Like, if this chief had a double jointed elbow, which it's entirely possible they could have done that. Like, there's enough space here to fit 2 joints. But if he had a double jointed elbow, he would be more articulated than this guy right here. Because he even got some more movement in the torso. Kind of a loose joint, but it is there. So, it's a little bit odd. Let me go ahead and grab some more figures so we can get some more comparisons for the size. So we saw Little Chief next to him. So Little Chief will go away for now. And then we will bring in one of my all-time favorite action figures. The Marvel Legends Miles Morales. And to be honest, this is actually a pretty much perfect scale. Like, speaking in terms of how bulky and big the Spartans are and how Miles is just a teenager, this is actually, they scale perfectly, and I really like that. I kind of want to do some photos with these guys together. That's great. Then we have a Figma Mccree, and honestly, the scale still is kind of working, because McCree is just a normal dude, and the Spartan is a Spartan, so I'd say that works out pretty well. This is a great figure, by the way. I've been meaning to do a review of him, but I keep getting busy with doing Mega Construct stuff. Alright, here is the Master Grade Strike Gundam Remaster. And you can see this Spartan is just slightly shorter than him purely because he has the big head V-fin. So this guy is generally the same size as your average Master Grade Gundam. And then we have... Whoa, what is falling off? Wait, there was an extra hand stuck to him. This is a high-grade Zaku. Specifically, Charged Zaku. Pretty much the same size as Miles, so there's not much going on there. And then, of course, I would be amiss if I didn't do this. There is the Mega Constructs counterpart. Look at that. Mega Constructs figures come up just barely to these guys' knees. And this is a purely red Mark VII. I made him up to match this guy. This you can't get from a set. You have to build it from a couple different parts. So don't ask in the comments what set he came from. So size-wise, he's pretty large. Larger than your average action figure. And that works out well because he ends up scaling almost perfectly to Marvel Legends, and I'm sure Star Wars Black Series as well. I did put a Stormtrooper like next to him, and he looked pretty good. So that's pretty good. Oh, I forgot to mention, there is a swivel at the ankle, kind of an angled one. So what is the final verdict on this guy? I would say he is a mediocre figure overall. And I'm not trying to be negative because, like, if you're looking for some larger size Halo figures, then this is your best bet, honestly. But there are a lot of things I feel like could have been done better. The articulation feels like it might degrade over time. The look of the figure overall is great, but the dry brushing is a little cheap looking on this guy in particular. It's just like swipes. And then there's the missing print. And obviously soft weapons, but that's just a problem with Jazwares in general. The Bulldog is very small. It just looks wrong, and it looks even more wrong when he's holding it. It's like a pistol almost. So that's weird. Yeah, I expected to be more impressed because of how impressive the little guys were. And the little guys still impress me because of how small they are, but they just pack in so much. And these big guys don't really pack in as much as they could. I feel like they could be better. So I think that the smaller guys... Oh, good grief. My voice just completely went away over there for a second. I think that the smaller guys are honestly a better value because you can get a couple of these guys for the price of one of these. This guy is $20. I don't want to come across sounding super negative, because there are some very good things about this figure. I love how many hands he comes with. That is great. Usually, like Black Series and Marvel Legends, you'll get just the one set of hands and that's it. So having all of these hands is great. The visors on these guys are stunning. The mirror look that they got for them is just perfect. The molding, like all the molded detail, is great. So it's really like a mixed bag for me. It's like a 50-50, 50% good, 50% bad. I'm debating whether or not I should get another one or two of these to see how I like the system on other figures and not just the Mark VII. Because obviously you'll get slightly different articulation based on the armor type. But yeah, I feel like I could recommend this, but I would say don't have super, super high hopes. Because at the end of the day, it is a mass-produced, normal, just on the shelf at your Walmart action figure, as opposed to something like a Figma, which is an import and costs a lot of money, and you expect to get your money's worth. I would say you definitely get your money's worth in this Spartan if you pay $20 for him. That's a fair price. I feel like you get your money's worth. I just am seeing that potentially the quality could degrade over time. Ratchet joints tend to do that because as you move them, they'll like wear out and then you'll get kind of lose stuff. But yeah, I'm curious to see how he holds up over time, and I'm very curious to see what he looks like once I give him the same treatment as I gave to this guy here. I think he'll look like $1 million after that. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the panel liner fluid can do. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more Jazwares reviews, because I will definitely go out and get another one if you guys want to see another Spartan Collection figure review. Yeah. Mediocre figure. Not bad, but not outstanding either. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.